A lawyer for a disabled Jacksonville woman has filed dozens of lawsuits in the past 6 months accusing local small businesses of discriminating against her.
Action News Jax began looking into these claims a month ago, and just today, 4 more lawsuits were filed. Action News Jax investigator Jenna Bourne is live in East Arlington. Jenna, business owners you spoke with call this a shakedown of mom and pop shops.
And today's filings bring the total number of lawsuits in Wanda Moore's name to 40. Just here on St. John's Bluff Road, she sued Pit Stop, Mama Lou's next door, and Lucky Food Mart a few doors down, all on the same day.
You get a beef fried rice, for like $4 or $5, and you can't beat that.
Dan Turner went to his favorite place for takeout when he discovered Mama Lou's was closed for renovations.
And when I found the doors closed, I couldn't believe it. Why are they closed?
Turner found out Mama Lou's was being sued for failing to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act. A disabled veteran himself, he wanted to know more. He found the same woman, a double amputee named Wanda Moore, had filed more than 36 lawsuits in the past 6 months, all against small businesses. We've mapped them out so you can see where they are in relation to her home and her attorney's office.
That's like a fishing expedition. Somebody going around. So, well, I'm going to sue this person, this person, this person.
The attorney and chiropractor for all of Wanda Moore's lawsuits is Robert Gibson. He bills himself as the law doc. These lawsuits allege everything from out-of-compliance handicap parking spaces, ramps that are improper, countertops that are too high, and lack of handrails in bathrooms.
Gibson had his paralegal send me a statement.
Why isn't he available to talk about this?
But he repeatedly refused to have a conversation with me.
Hi there.
You can't be.
Gibson's statement says he sends each business a pre-suit notice, giving them an opportunity to make the corrections to avoid a lawsuit. Beach Road Chicken was one of them.
Scam, fraud, however you want to word it.
Co-owner Ken Ferger tells me the purpose of that pre-suit notice was to get him to settle.
They've gone to smaller operations that, they'll more likely settle.
Instead, Ferger made changes to his parking lot, ramp, and more. But we did find a few things, like the height of the paper towel dispenser, are still not compliant.
So you're off by about 6 inches.
Okay.
A new Florida law took effect this month that can prevent a business that's the subject of an ADA lawsuit from having to pay up if they show they're working on a plan to fix the problems. In the meantime, Ferger is warning other mom-and-pop shops.
I don't believe that this woman and her attorney are that altruistic all over town.
The lawsuits claim Wanda Moore went to several of the businesses she's suing all on the same day. I went to her home today to try to get her side of the story. No one came to the door.
Jacksonville businesses are now fighting back against a local woman and an attorney who have filed dozens of lawsuits accusing them of breaking the law. It's an update to an Action News Jax investigation involving a disabled Jacksonville woman named Wanda Moore. So far, Moore has filed 40 lawsuits against restaurants, gas stations, and food stores, accusing them of violating the Americans with Disabilities Act. Many of the businesses say she doesn't really care about fixing the problems. They call it a money grab. Action News Jax investigator Jenna Bourne confronted the attorney behind those lawsuits today.
I walked up to Robert Gibson while he was walking from his office to his Range Rover. He asked me for a business card, and when I went to go get one, he got into another car and drove off.
Get in the car.
Attorney Robert Gibson sped off in this SUV rather tthan answer my questions about the 40 lawsuits he's filed against local small businesses. Now Gibson and his client Wanda Moore are being sued. Latin Creations is one of 15 businesses now joining the lawsuit we told you about on Monday.
We believe that the number of businesses that have been affected are in the hundreds.
The countersuit filed by Luby's Hot Subs accuses Gibson of falsely claiming Moore had been on Luby's premises when in fact she had not. It says once a target was identified, someone would go in and take photographs of ADA violations and claim Moore had been a patron. Attorney Justin Dratch tells me a whistleblower who used to work for Robert Gibson showed him a list of 250 local businesses they targeted.
Quiere yuquita,
Beatrice Chandler manages the front of the house at Latin Creations, and she tells me she's never seen Wanda Moore.
It said they bought fried tomatoes here. We don't sell fried tomatoes. So that was another ding, ding, ding. That doesn't sound right.
An internal email at Gibson's law firm shows photos of alleged ADA violations were taken April 27th. More than 2 weeks before the lawsuit claims Wanda Moore visited.
As we were looking at the pictures, we're like, wait a minute, that toilet was changed before May 16th.
This Home Depot receipt for a new toilet says May 1st.
Bye, gracias. It hurts. It really hurts that they're trying to take the little bit of income that we make for ourselves. I mean, I have a kid, and if we have to close the business because of this, you know, what am I going to do?
I called Wanda Moore and went to her home today to try to get her side of the story, but no one came to the door.
A Miami man is suing 24 Jacksonville businesses over the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's continuing coverage of an Action News Jax investigation into a rash of ADA lawsuits targeting local businesses, a practice many call a money grab. Action News Jax Jenna Bourne is live in Brentwood. Jenna, the 24 local businesses are among, but you've learned this man has sued 150 businesses across the state.
3 of them are right here on this strip. This lawsuit filed last week claims Douglas Longini visited this Papa John's, this Subway, and this Wingstop all on the same day.
This is a form of activism, and it's an important form of activism.
That's how attorney Joshua Sheskin describes his client Douglas Longini's lawsuits directed at more than 150 businesses across Florida. Longini lives in Miami and needs this wheelchair to get around. And he does get around. An Action News Jax investigation uncovered Longini has sued more than 100 businesses in Florida's Southern Federal Court District over ADA compliance. We dug deeper and found he also recently sued 24 businesses in Jacksonville, 23 in Orlando, 4 in Fort Myers, and 1 in Tampa. One lawsuit says that he visited in one day a Wingstop, a Papa John's, and a Subway. He must have been very hungry to visit 3 restaurants in one day.
I mean, that was yesterday for me that I visited 3 restaurants in one day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Sheskin says his client should be able to visit any of these businesses without fear that he won't be able to use the restroom or park where he needs to.
If there were signs on restaurants that said, no African Americans, people would go crazy in society. But that same restaurant discriminating by not being wheelchair accessible, no one's fighting to end that discrimination except the Doug Longinis of the world.
Sheskin tells me his client does not make any money off of these lawsuits, but Sheskin himself gets reimbursed for attorney's fees.
The son of a woman who's suing 40 small businesses in Jacksonville over Americans with Disabilities Act violations is getting paid by his mom's lawyer. This continuing coverage of an Action News Jax investigation that exposed what some businesses are calling a money grab geared toward getting mom and pop shops to settling for cash. Action News Jax investigator Jenna Bourne joins us live in Regency. Jenna, today we're hearing the other side of the story for the first time.
Wanda Moore and her attorney Robert Gibson, who calls himself the Law Doc, still won't answer my questions. But now Gibson has his own attorney, and he says Wanda Moore is the victim, not these businesses.
The plaintiff, in this case Ms. Moore, gets nothing, no fees whatsoever. So, she does it as a public service.
But attorney Curtis Fallgatter confirms that double amputee Wanda Moore's son, Rumley Moore, is on Robert Gibson's payroll. Fallgatter tells me Rumley Moore gets paid to investigate businesses for ADA compliance, like insufficient handicap parking or improper handrails in bathrooms, and then drive his mother there. On Tuesday, 2 employees in Gibson's office denied that Rumley Moore works for Gibson, both saying he's a student.
He's a student. Is he an intern? They just hung up on me. Let's try again.
He's in that car?
Yeah.
Action News Jax told you on Tuesday that Gibson drove off rather than answer my questions about the lawsuit businesses are now bringing against him.
And everyone is saying the same thing. She was never here. I never saw her.
If some complaint inadvertently said she went inside when she really didn't, You know, I'm not saying with as many complaints as there may not have been a mistake made, but there's no mistake about the ADA violations.
I showed Fallgatter this internal email that shows an investigator took photos of alleged violations inside Latin Creations on April 27th, weeks before Moore's lawsuit claims she was at the restaurant.
The law firms will hire investigators that'll go take photographs, and they may get out there ahead of time and say, well, here's a facility that's not in compliance. Ms. Moore, do you mind driving there with your son taking you? And verify that.
We checked, and the law backs up that strategy of able-bodied investigators tipping off a tester like Wanda Moore. In an exclusive interview, a ministry president tells me he was approached nearly a year ago by someone saying that Robert Gibson planned to make a lot of money by targeting small businesses. I'm working on that side of the story for you now. I'll have that all new for you at 6. Reporting live in Regency, Jenna Bourne, CBS 47 Action News Jax.
And just 20 minutes ago, we got a statement from the attorney representing several businesses who are now suing Gibson and Moore. It says in part, quote, targeting businesses and then creating the basis for a lawsuit is no different than if Mr. Gibson sent investigators to look for spills in businesses and then sent clients to slip and fall in those spills.
Raymond Johnson tells me he was told by controversial pastor Ken Atkins nearly a year ago that the law doc planned on making a lot of money by targeting small businesses with ADA lawsuits.
I was told months ago about this plan.
President of Biblical Concepts Ministries, Raymond Johnson, tells me Pastor Ken Atkins invited him last year to a free pastor's lunch sponsored by Robert Gibson's law office. And we know there's a connection between Atkins and Gibson. Atkins asked me to meet him at Gibson's office for this interview back in 2015, 2 years before Atkins was convicted of molesting teens. Johnson tells me last year's luncheon was an effort to get pastors to refer their church networks to Gibson's office. In return, Gibson would donate to those churches and ministries.
Ken Atkins told me at that meeting that they was going to be going after small businesses, and you know, this was going to generate a lot of money because they were going to sue them over this ADA requirements.
Robert Gibson and his client, double amputee Wanda Moore, still won't meet me for an interview. But now Gibson's attorney, Curtis Fallgatter, agreed to meet me.
Why is Wanda Moore only suing small businesses?
The reality is, you know, the Winn-Dixies of the world, the Publix, most of them have come into compliance.
I asked Fallgatter about Johnson's story.
Wouldn't that indicate that the real purpose of this lawsuit isn't to help the disabled, it's to make more money?
You're here today getting paid a salary for your work. I get paid for my work. None of us work for free.
A source tells us a fraud complaint against Gibson has been filed with the FBI. Gibson's attorney calls it, quote, nonsense. He tells me these lawsuits are the only tool out there to ensure that disabled people are able to access the same restaurants and stores that everyone else can. Reporting live in Regency, Jenna Bourne, CBS 47 Fox 30 Action News Jax.